Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Collecting Keys podcast. I am super excited today. We have Alex Marmon with us, and you might be going, who the hell is that? And that's completely fair, because in the real estate world, he is literally nobody.
Well, he's a step above nobody. Nobody's the guy who shows up to the REI meetup and doesn't have a deal yet.
That's true. That's true. You're already better than 85% of the REI meetup regulars who go every single week and have never bought a deal. So Alex is a good friend of mine, and he actually bought one of our wholesale deals. I guess about 6-7 months ago, and I thought this would be a really great interview to have because Alex is very contrary to the typical new flipper in a way that most flippers, they go in, they listen to a bunch of podcasts, they really dive into education. Maybe they're working as like a contractor, they find like some partnerships, they do all this bullshit, right? They're talking to realtors and all that things. Alex, he's asked me a couple quizzical questions over the last couple of years, but then he would kind of just fade out every few months, and he would like start asking me questions and he would disappear. And then one day he comes forward, he goes, I want to buy a house. And I said, that's perfect. We got a house you can buy. You want to buy it? And he said, yep. And he pulled the trigger and did his first flip with really no idea what he was doing. Yep. And, I gotta say the place looks great. I don't know if it's sold yet. It's currently on the market, but you did it. You kicked ass on a property that was, very unique to make look pretty, right?
There was a lot of gotchas on it for sure.
There was, yeah. So I thought you'd be great to have you on, Alex. You could tell us about that process, things you learned, things that, you'll do better next time, advice you have for other people. So I guess first off, let's talk about, your background a little bit. I know it'll be an introduction of you, who you are, why you wanted to do this, why you sort of chose to jump into this sort of situation.
Yeah, for sure. First, I just want to say thanks for having me. Super cool to be here. Never done a podcast before, so we'll see how it goes today. But
first time flipper, first time podcast. I love it.
Just jumping right in. So this is the same thing. You had no interest in this, and I messaged you and I said, hey, you should come to my podcast. And you were like, nah. And I was like, it'll take 30 minutes. Right?
Why not? Right? Might as well. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, I'm a software engineer. I kind of got interested in flipping really from watching you. Like, you just came out of nowhere. Worked with your wife back at 14.4, and I was just like, this guy quit his job and now he's living the dream. Like, I'm going to see if I can do that. So I hit you up constantly asking questions. I super appreciate you always answering everything I had for you. But really, I was just like saving money and trying to get ready a little bit. I'd listen to podcasts every once in a while, but I'm definitely the type of guy that just jumps in. I think that's pretty clear already. And so as soon as I had the cash on hand, I was like, hell yeah, let's get her done, see how it goes.
I love that. Sweet. So you're kind of you're a nerd, to use layman terms. Mike said you have no background in construction. Your dad wasn't a real estate developer, I'm assuming.
No.
You just jumped right in, head first. That's pretty cool. I mean, I would say that I didn't have any experience either, but I felt like I did have some experience as far as working on things.
Bro, you were like working on a construction site before you decided that you didn't want to be an alcoholic anymore.
That wasn't the path for me. I better join the army. Yeah, I had a little bit different background, so I felt like I did. But you learn a ton on the fly. But yeah, I'm sure you definitely learned a lot. I bet you know more about plumbing and electrical and floors and drywall than you ever thought you would.
Yeah, it was insane. Learned an absolute ton. I have to say, I partnered with my brother on this project, and he works for still, an insurance like claims type company. They go in when somebody files an insurance claim and like do demo and stuff. So he's got like a little bit of construction knowledge. So it wasn't like 100% blind. Like we had, some YouTube knowledge and things. Like we kind of had prepped. So yeah, paired with him on it, and the stuff we learned is just like incredible. I've never learned that much that quickly, and it still took longer
Yeah.
than we hoped it would, right? So it's crazy.
Yeah, it always does, man. But I mean, that's so valuable, right? Like, even if you don't make any money on it, you lose a little bit of money. The price of education there is priceless, and the experience that you'll have going into the next project, the amount of confidence will be completely different. The way that you look at, the minute details, as well as like the big picture of the property and how to really get the most out of it, is going to be so much better than the people who play it safe and they're just like, I only want to buy a house where all I have to do is replace the carpet and put on new countertops. It's like they're never going to develop as a person. So
there's a lot of sleepless nights that come along with what you're talking about, Mike. I know you and I have talked about those when you're kind of knee deep in something you don't know and you're jumping in head first, but you're not a quitter, so you're going to finish the project. But I'm sure you had some of those sleepless nights, like where you're thinking about the project, or you're like, "What did I do? Like, did I make a mistake?"
A number of times I asked myself, "How the hell did we get here?" I can't even. I lost count. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, sleepless night.
Unfortunately, that never goes away. Dan had a sleepless night like literally last week for a project that we have going on right now.
It never goes away. Never goes away.
Good to know. All right.
Yeah.
I'll keep that
I remember
in mind.
walking through your project when you guys were in demo phase. So maybe like go back to that moment while you guys are there, because you guys tore out a lot of that house. It was lath and plaster. Just maybe go back to that point in the project and like, where was your mind at? What were you thinking? Just for people that are maybe just starting their first flip or they're in demo right now, like kind of your mindset at that point, and how much did the project grow from that point of what you thought you needed to do?
Yeah. So I guess to preface that really quick, the lead into that, just describe the house in general.
Good. Yeah.
People kind of know what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And then
yours
like
built, size, so on and so forth.
It was built in 1904. It was about 1,300 square feet, 2-bed, 1.5 bath, 2 stories. Both bedrooms are upstairs. Downstairs there was an addition, we think, at some point down the road. And kitchen was down there. The old kitchen was like a hallway. It was like the strangest setup I've ever seen. Like you couldn't even barely open the fridge all the way to get into it. So there was also like a full-size freezer in the old kitchen, so it made a really small space feel like even smaller, and it was just totally useless. So I think that sets the stage pretty well for the house. Yeah,
and what was the general condition of it? So that's the house. And
the guy that lived there beforehand was a heavy smoker, I think is the main thing to point out. It was clutter everywhere. I mean, definitely a hoarder house. There was a few treasure finds though at the house. Upstairs in one of the back corners was a huge stack of Playboys, which was a very nice find.
Nice. Those are probably worth some money,
Yeah, I guess
on eBay.
They would have been.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll have to do that for sure.
Yeah. So there was what Playboy. I think the fridge was still full of food. And the story behind this house. So, we sold you the house. This is a wholesale deal we got. We found this property because the owner of it had died very unexpectedly, and it was the brother or son. It might have been I think it was the brother of the owner was back in town, and was dealing with the affairs. Found a card from us regarding the property. I'm not even sure why we targeted it. It might have been maybe a financial issue or a lien or something like that. Found a mailer from us on the counter. This is also why, guys, if you want a wholesale, direct mail is awesome because even the dead will leave your mark.
It's so true.
Their loved ones.
It's so true, though.
Honestly, though, right?
Yeah,
we've got a lot of deals that way. And brother found the card, gave us a call, and we got the call. We had it signed around literally the next day. So, strong motivated seller. The guy wasn't from here. He walks into the house. He's like, damn, this place is disgusting. I'm just going to offload this thing. And here we go. So so we got down, and then sure enough, I mean, the reason you picked it up, you happened to literally reach out I think the day or two after that we had it. And we were like, here you go. Got it all lined up for you. And our thought, which was perfect for you, I think it was a great starter home to flip because small footprint. One of the biggest mistakes I made on my first flips was I flipped this 2,800 square foot house Do not recommend that at all. And so small footprint, and it was a house that would end up in like a standard price point. So it wasn't like high end and it wasn't like low end, right? So it's going to be a highly desirable price point for end buyers.
Yeah, the stars really aligned. It all worked out perfect. Like, couldn't have asked for a better process getting to acquiring the property from you and all that stuff. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. So can you get a little closer to your mic? You're kind of
sorry.
there. Or like turn it up. Oh, you're good. Want to make sure we get
you. I don't know how to. I wonder if I can like have it. No, I can't.
Let me see here. See, and this is what's great is if post-production, let's edit all this out.
Oh, and I can't change devices while recording, so like best I can do is just speak up, I guess.
Yeah, it's talk a little louder. That'll be fine.
Can do.
That was cool. So sorry, 1 second. 20. I'm just taking a timestamp so I know where that's at. Cool. Yeah, so it just lined up perfect for you, right? Perfect sort of starter house. So you're talking about the hallway, things like that. When you went into this house, I guess, Dan was talking about the demo and all that sort of stuff. As you're getting into it, what was your thought process with that? I remember the hilarious conversation where I went over there once and you guys were talking about removing that wall. And you were like, can we just like take this wall down? Like what'll happen? It's like, well, you're gonna have to put a beam. Like there's gonna have to be something to support the entire upper level of it, and like there's what was your thought process going into that? Like how did you even figure a lot of these things out as you were going? Besides,
I mean, a lot of it was just like by the hip, figure it out as you go kind of stuff. I remember out of the gate, we were working on demo, and when we were kind of like planning for the project, we had like walked it and we're like, okay, we're going to do these things. We slotted like a week for demo, I think. A month and a half later, we were like almost done with demo and we're like, we have to get this done. Like it was horrible. I had rented a dumpster from the city and they brought it out. It was like, I don't remember the price, honestly. It was like $10 a day or something like that. I honestly don't remember, but we're like, oh, that'll be fine. It's like 7 days. Who cares? It won't be a thing. We'll fit it all in one dumpster because it's like $300 to get them to come take the dumpster and dump it. And so like $2,000-$3,000 later, we're like still doing demo, and it was winter at this time, and because we got the property in February, and I remember the city wouldn't put it on our side of the street or in the backyard. So
your neighbors are sitting there looking at this freaking dumpster
for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
We're pissed. They were so mad, and we had to take everything all the way across the street. Oh man, it was just a
bad setup. Looking back on it, it was not a convenient setup.
No, it was not convenient. And then it was just like the layers of the house. We would peel one thing back, and there was something else behind it, and we really didn't know where to stop. To be honest with you, we could have kept going, but we just got to the point where like, okay, we have to stop and actually like start rebuilding this thing, or we're just going to be doing demo for 6 months. And so, we just basically called it one day. We're like, we have to be done. If there's more that comes down the pipe for us to remove, then we'll do it then. Which ended up not being the best strategy because then we just had a giant pile of junk in the backyard and nowhere to put it.
Right. Yeah. And that's where like a good point, like, cause I think you said this was built in 1904.
Yeah.
So more than a century worth of renovations. Like you said, there probably was an addition to it and all sorts of layers of everything. And it just takes time to break through those, right? And so that's like a learning point of like, do you want to flip a 1904 house in the future? Or when you do it, like what to expect as far as the demo goes. So that's, I would imagine, I know it has been for me, a great learning opportunity for you, because on those old houses, you truly can demo them until the house is gone. You literally can. Nothing's square, nothing's straight. There's, drywall on top of lath and plaster. There's newspaper insulation mixed with, rat poop and asbestos and all sorts of, it's just like, how nice do you want to make it? Is all it comes down to.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So cool. So as you got into the demo, how was like a lot of the CapEx stuff for it? I mean, I think the roof was okay.
Nope, didn't have to do the roof. That was fine.
like electrical, plumbing, HVAC. I know the HVAC came in.
HVAC
Like
came in
last
literally
second.
like the day before we listed, so that was exciting. But the electrical, we had to redo the whole kitchen. That was another huge learning lesson. Plumbing, we had a couple of plumbers come in, and just the quotes that we got were like unbelievable. Like I couldn't. It still blows my mind how much money people charge for plumbing. And so a lot of that we figured out on our own as well. And I think those are really, really good lessons, because even though it took us way longer to do it, now in the future when those issues come up or those things need to be done, we know exactly how to do it. And it'll save us, a ton going forward. So.
Yeah. And a learning point that certain trades are more expensive than other trades, right? So here's a good learning opportunity. Demo guys are usually really, really cheap, especially, they will haul your stuff off for you. They'll do whatever they can. Honestly, so cheap. And then a plumber and electrician, though, are really expensive, and scheduling is hard to get them. But like I said, demo guys are cheap, and they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, you probably could have had that house demoed for
like you know how much it hurts
all of it, and it would have taken like 3 days.
That one cuts really deep. But no, we kind of did like a retrospective, just like look back about all the things we could do better. And that was the biggest thing, was like just hire out demo. It would have taken 5 guys literally a week, but it took one guy 1.5, 6. So
right.
Yeah. That's funny. No, it's all good though. Yeah. And then with the trade stuff as well, the big thing, learning those yourselves, when to call bullshit on a lot of these skilled trades people, because they will absolutely read you like a book, and I mean, like, there's a reason. It's like if your wife goes into a car dealership, like get her tires changed, she's going to get quoted a higher price than
she's going to be buying blinker fluid,
because they can, right? And yeah, exactly. And that's not right. That's not ethical. But that does happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially when it comes to things like trades where people don't have a lot of contact, and it is super kind of mixed what the true value of that stuff is. If you can be like, okay, no, that's bullshit, I know exactly what's involved in that, and you can kind of speak the language, you will get better prices.
There's a quick story about the ending of this whole thing. Literally the day before we went to list, the main plumbing line that connects to the sewer disconnected, and so you couldn't use water anywhere, and we had a open house scheduled for the next day. So we're like in a total panic. What the hell are we going to do? Called a bunch of plumbing companies, had one come out, and the guy goes under the crawl space, gets under there, looks at it, comes back out, and he's like, yeah, it'll be about $2,500 for me to fix the pipe. But if I can't figure out how to fix it, it'll be about $5,000, because I got to dig a hole in the side of the house to access it and replace everything. And I was like, no. There is no way that this thing that's been working for 6 months and just barely came apart is going to cost $5,000. So ended up crawling up there, under there myself, pulled the part off, sent a picture of it to a different plumber, and he's like, yeah, it'll be like $100. Boom.
Yeah. Just a little ingenuity.
See that hazard pay, man. He didn't want to go into the crawl space.
Which is crazy, because that's not a bad crawl space. I mean, I was down there, looking at your basement. Mike and I definitely own properties with worse crawl spaces than that.
Yeah. It was bad. Let's not sugarcoat it, okay? It was
it wasn't nice,
but
it wasn't nice. Yeah, I don't know. We've had some pretty bad crawl spaces. I mean, on Dan and I's first property we bought together, I mean, I always remember we had like this like rape dungeon, for lack of a better description. Like, it was like bad. Like, it's the only time I've ever seen Dan have a glimpse of
butchered chickens down there too.
We were walking this house initially, and they had their chickens. The tenants had chickens in the basement, and the lady, it was a Hispanic family, was cooking this super pungent food, and so it just smelled like spices and herbs and livestock. And me and Dan were walking this house before we bought it. He walks downstairs, and all of a sudden he looks at me, and he's white as a sheet, and he's like, I need to get out of here. And he shoves me out of the way and goes outside. And I was like, holy shit. He just had flashbacks to Iraq right now.
It was not a nice basement.
All right, I'll quit complaining about ours, because that definitely does.
Yeah. I do remember looking at it, and I think I was telling you guys where you got to go level the floor or something, and it was like, yeah, you got to crawl under. That's the only way you do it. And I was like, under my breath, it's like, have fun with that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Crawl in there.
Fun stuff in the crawl space, for sure.
No, that's a good learning opportunity though too. Is like sometimes your time is worth more, and hiring it out is the best. But also sometimes, especially when you're learning and you don't know, take the time to call a couple different people to figure it out, like you did. Just take a lot of people would have been like $2,500, and you were at the end of the project. They would have just thrown their hands up. Just take this away from me, right? But taking that time, saves you 2,400.
Yeah, I was totally there at that point. I was like, I want to be done with this project so bad. I was ready to pay anything, and then, $2,500 is too much to just.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah,
for that. Yeah. Well, and also too, you had already just gotten bit by the furnace, because I know we connected you with that. So what was that situation?
So I'm gonna have to start like at the beginning. We right out of the gate bought like a security system from this company. I think it's like called Cove or something, but they send you like cameras, sensors, all this stuff to see if the windows are open or whatever. And they sent us a CO2 monitor. So we put it in the house, and the thing kept going off. And my brother and I are like, must be broken. And so we literally unhooked it, threw it in the garbage, and we just went on with our lives. Like there was just this annoying thing that kept beeping at us. And like in hindsight, that was the stupidest thing we could have possibly done in that situation, but it's what we did. And so we just continue on with our lives. The heater gets really hot. The top of like upstairs was like 90 degrees in the middle of winter. Like,
wow.
In our heads, the thing is working perfectly, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And then we're nearing the end of the project, and oh God, how did it even come up? Sorry, can we pause, Mike? I gotta sit here for a second and think about.
Yeah.
Just keep going. We'll just cut out the gap.
God, how did it come up though? Really trying to remember why we had the HVAC guy come out originally. The one that like found the leak.
Was it like a final inspection before you just listed it just to cover your bases?
I thought it was for something else before that, but it must have been. I'll just roll with that because honestly I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be completely
yeah,
true.
Exactly.
So yeah, we were just doing like a final inspection near the end of the project to cover our bases, make sure everything was good to go. And the inspector comes back and he's like, there's a CO2 leak in your HVAC system. We're like, no, there's no way. The thing works perfectly fine. Like, whatever. We had an HVAC company come out. They're like, yeah, there's definitely a CO2 leak and it's really bad. And you're going to have to replace all of the ductwork throughout the whole house. They quoted us $20,000. And I was like, okay, these guys are giving us the runaround again.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Man, how was that feeling in your chest when you thought you were done and you're about getting ready to list it and suddenly you thought you were going to have to spend $20,000?
I literally just laughed. I was like, I knew they were giving us the runaround. I'm like, damn, okay, this is actually an issue that I have to deal with. But $20,000, I was just like, no, this is not. These guys are ridiculous. This is not happening. So at that point, I actually called Dan. I was like, hey, man, I need some help here. You got to have somebody in HVAC world that knows what they're doing that isn't going to charge me that. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I got a guy. So they came out and they were like, yeah, this is pretty bad, but it'll be like $5,000 to replace the whole system. You don't have to replace all the ductwork, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So they came out, did all the work, and then my brother and I were just sitting there talking about it. That's when we realized that we had the CO2 sensor that kept going off, and we were calling ourselves idiots. And then it dawned on me that the previous owner of the house passed away in the house in his chair in the middle of the night in his sleep.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
And I just like freaked out. I was like, no way did this actually happen. I think I called you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
You did. Yeah, and you called me and you're like, should we like call the family and tell them? I'm like,
I mean, it might be a nice closure to why, he passed away.
I mean, I'm sure they did like an autopsy.
Not on that. They're like old guy, hoarder. Nah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, right. But You're basically like, you know, CSI,
Right.
You know, you should don't get like a designation somehow with that. I don't know. You've solved the death.
I've
That's
never
something-
saw maybe
I mean, Dan and I
caused a
have never
death.
solved the
We've
death.
definitely had people die in our buildings, but
We
with
have.
Smet, we had
Died
2
in our
people in the
building.
same
actually,
unit
right, the
die.
Smet. Oh, shit,
2
I
people
forgot.
in the same
We had 2
unit on
people.
different days die, and we never investigated it once. We're like, oh, it's vacant, sweet.
Oh my God, that's fucked up.
Yeah, that was a bad month there.
That we should do a whole
Yeah, we
episode.
will. We'll do a
just on that
breakdown.
project,
Yeah, we'll do
man. We
that.
have lots of
But for now, we'll give Alex his glory because this is
Yes.
nuts. Honestly, that is nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know how you title this episode, like Flipper finds dead man. I don't know. Flipper finds cause of death.
But, yeah. But at least you're able to escape for that, you know, with your new knowledge. You know what? You now have a new respect
Absolutely.
for carbon monoxide
Right.
and the alarm that you ignored. And if shit like that ever goes on in your house, you're not going to be like those people that just unplug the sensor and be like, oh, it's probably nothing.
New respect for demo, new respect for CO2.
Yeah.
What, you know, I know we're kind of running close on time, but I do want to get kind of just more information on like your process and maybe just kind of go through what you did at this home, like your flipping process, starting like just quickly, like demo, how you guys did it, and then any things that you would do differently. Like what are the high level things you would do differently throughout the process?
One of the biggest things that we would do differently, especially during demo, is not rip out the toilets. If there is like one thing that new flippers get from this, it's like don't rip out the toilets during demo because then you don't have a toilet for however long it takes.
Yeah, that is so important, but it's a little detail that people forget.
Oh my God, the number of times we went to Lowe's just to use the restroom is incredible.
Oh my God. That sucks.
Yeah, so I mean we ripped all the stuff out of the house and then kind of the very
you were down to like the studs for 90% of the house, right?
Yeah, the majority of the house was down to studs, yeah.
Okay.
As soon as that was done, we went straight into leveling the floors. Again, learned a ton there, but kind of went bottom up, right? Just got everything on the floors as squared away as we could. Really,
did you jack the floors? You jacked up the main level floors is what you were doing?
Yeah,
we
did you use like
self-leveler?
We jacked up in some spots, and then we actually sistered some new joists in other spots, just to, you know, make things as level as we could. And like we at the time we're amazing at this, and this is the most level floor in all of flipping history. And then we got to the point where we were installing flooring, and the whole thing is just like a way.
Right. Yeah.
It's horrible.
Because you guys had to do that, right? Because you're doing LVP throughout that main area, and I remember walking. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna want these high points and low points somewhat fixed, right? Because your floor will be moving around.
Yep.
If not, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, the flooring is a whole separate story, to be honest. But we did that, and then kind of jumped into the plumbing and electrical side of things. Rewiring their kitchen was really cool. We learned a ton there. It was actually quite a bit of fun, to be honest. I like that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, that went pretty well. And then we tackled the stairs after this, and the stairs were kind of a highlight, an unfortunate highlight, because they were really difficult. They were super skinny, and the bottom of the steps kind of like came down and then turned and went into the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And that turn there, before we got there, there was like maybe 1.5 feet between the wall and the like end of the stairs. If that makes any sense? Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to expand that and make it more open so that you could get up the stairs easier. So we ripped out all the steps, and then we ripped out all of the railing.
Oh man.
And it turns out installing new railing and new stairs in a house is very difficult and requires a very high level of like carpentry skills that we just don't have.
In a geometry degree.
Oh my God, it took us so long to do the stairs. That was talking about like sleepless nights. I literally just like laid in bed for like a month just thinking about how the hell are we going to do these stairs? Oh my God. Yeah. It was huge.
That's so funny. But no, I love it. So then, like, you know, process wise, did you have any sort of like organizational process for keeping track of the stuff? Or are you guys literally just going like software guy? You're just in sprints. You're just like, we're doing the, demo, and then we're doing the
There's some
plumbing,
logic
and
there,
then we're
though.
doing the stairs.
Yeah, that's
We
exactly
just
how
would
it went.
focus
But I can't
entirely on
even
that.
say that we like planned our sprints ahead of time. It was more of just like okay, this is like the goal, and we know that we got to do some things to get there, and like just start crossing them off the list. Basically, we actually did have a gigantic checklist, and it was literally just like get a thing done and cross it off the list, and then just keep going.
Well, and the challenge too with that is when you're talking about planning sprints is you don't actually necessarily know what a sprint like. It would be like coding in your terms something. So you had a sprint to code something, but you don't actually know what it needs to be like on the other end, and you don't actually know how to do it.
Exactly.
So you don't know how to code, and you don't actually know what you want it to look like. So you're just kind of feeling in the dark until you're just pushing Control Alt Delete like I do and calling the help desk until you get enough code put together that it works.
Yes, that's exactly right. And in our case, you were the help desk. It was amazing.
I mean that's impressive in itself, but I also think it speaks to like a lot of people can do this.
Oh, yeah.
And even in your feet, you're feeling in the dark. Like it's not overly complicated. It's when I was going through this, and I used to do the demo or the work myself on my first couple, like top to bottom, all the work myself. The thing I had to finally figure out was the house will not disappear because of the work I'm doing. Like the asset won't just disappear, right? You can definitely damage it. And the worst thing that you can do is spend more money, which is not a great best case scenario, spending more money. But like, again, the house just generally speaking will not fall over because you took the staircase out and wanted to rebuild it and make it nicer. At the end of the day, you're gonna have a nicer staircase. It might cost you more than you thought, but you're gonna have a nicer staircase.
Yep.
With the exception being if you knock
then the
out
house will definitely fall.
That's holding up the upper stairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of my recommendations to you on that was like, well,
Awesome.
when you remove the wall, just kind of see if it sags a little bit.
That's like exactly what we did.
That's definitely a general contractor tip I learned.
Yeah.
Let's just see how much it sags a little.
We literally go ahead. I was going to say we had a 2x4 right next to this spot that was going to sag or that we thought might sag, and we just marked it with a pencil. And then we like left for the night, and we're like, well, if we come back and it moved, then we know we got to put a brace there.
That's like expert level right there. Actually, most people probably wouldn't even think about that. That's good, nice work, man. Yeah.
Oh my God, all this stuff, all the structural engineers that are supposed to sign off on it crawling in their brain right now. So how are you?
Hasn't sold
has
yet.
the house
No,
sold
we've
yet?
had
It's
a
on the market.
couple
Had any offers?
of people walk through and show interest. The main person that was interested didn't want it because there wasn't a garage, which got kind of low because we tore down the garage that was in the backyard.
Oh no.
It was.
I mean, it was a piece of shit garage.
Yeah.
Like,
I would have done it
that one
again
had
if
to
we
be
were in
going
that same
anyway,
situation, but now it's obviously like, if we just had spent another week or two fixing up that old garage, we probably would have sold the house already. So,
right,
another lesson.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to be fair, it's been up for like a week. I mean, back when I first started flipping houses, the kind of expectation was that a house would sit for a month before anyone put any offers in. And we're just moving back towards to that being the normalcy. I mean, the house looks great. It's in a good location, good price point. No, I have no doubt it'll sell. It's just things are going to take a little bit longer right now. So if you do get your asking price for it, $299.
Yeah, I'm definitely okay sharing. Our break even at this point is about $280. So if we get $299, then sitting pretty good. That's like way more than.
And that includes all your holding costs and carry realtor costs, selling costs, all that. Okay.
Yeah, that $280 break even is like wholesale everything.
Nice.
So yeah, super excited about that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we came into it thinking like we're going to lose money on this, but we're going to learn a ton along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we had like some hopes and dreams of making thousands and thousands of dollars. And if that happens to pan out, then we'll be ecstatic. But if we just get out of it without losing $20,000, then we'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, no, I think you're right in there, and I think there's a lot of lessons to learn. Where I'm guessing that you've figured out a way to probably save 20% of your renovation costs already by not doing certain things and stopping at a certain point. One thing that I always give advice on to people is the dollar budget is really important, but the time budget is this equally, if not more important, because the longer you hold the property, the longer things can take, longer, the more opportunity there is for bad things to happen to your property.
Mhm.
And so bad things being like, you go from wintertime where you don't have to do landscaping to summertime where you have to do landscaping, or somebody breaks into your house and steals half your materials, or, all these things have happened to Mike and I. So, you live and you learn, and the time piece is a huge element to being a flipper.
Yeah, I think the time piece is probably the biggest thing that we misunderstood when we got started. I remember very vividly my brother and I talking about this project, and we were kind of looking at everything that had to be done, and he looked at me and he's like, I bet you I can get it done in a month. I was just like, all right, man, we'll see. And literally 8 months later, it's finally
8
done.
months later.
Right.
So yeah, at one point we were just like, okay, we got to throw all of our timelines out of the back of the truck because they're just garbage. Like, we were trying so hard to meet these deadlines that it was just stressing us out. But they were all, imaginary deadlines we gave ourselves. So, I unfortunately don't have advice for people on timelines. You got to just kind of.
Yeah, that's all right. Cool. Well, we'll start to wrap up here, but I just wanted to ask you a couple roundup questions. So I guess first off, what is your number one tip that you would give somebody who was kind of in your same position, was looking to get it in their first flip? If you had one piece of advice you'd give them, what would that be?
It's got to be just go for it. I think just jump in, man. There's no reason not to. Like, I understand not wanting to lose money, but the financial security that this kind of stuff can bring is well worth a short-term loss. So just get after it.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's no better
Absolutely
education than
best
what
education
you've
ever
done right now. Perfect. Yeah. Cool. And as this one wraps up, what's next for you? Do you have any more plans to buy more? Market's kind of weird right now. What are you thinking are your next?
So my wife,
in the real estate investing world?
when she listens to this, she'll probably laugh. But if I do another flip this summer, I think she'll probably divorce me, just because of how much time I was spending on it. But we had our baby like right before we started the flip, right? So
yeah, that's tough.
I'm excited to spend some time with the kiddo. But then, as soon as life kind of calms back down, we'll be jumping into another one for sure.
Nice.
Another one. Cool. Think like what? Same kind of project?
Yeah, I think I'd like to flip something again and actually make some money, depending on where this one sells. So that would be pretty cool to see.
Right.
But then, like long term, really, I just want this to be a machine that turns out rentals and starts building wealth.
Love it.
Cool. I like it, man. Sweet. Well, thanks, buddy, for hopping on with us. I appreciate you being open with all the, ups and downs and, the numbers of it all. I think that, I'm proud of you for jumping into it and taking that initial step. It's absolutely the hardest. And then, going into any future deals, your ability to analyze the connections you have, basically just your whole thought process is going to make every single one better. So, you definitely.
I got to mimic what Mike says, super proud of you for doing this. Cause Mike and I talked to a lot of folks and we're encouraging to a lot of people. Not many of them jump in and do it. And so that's super cool for you to do that. And what Mike and I always say is the best way to get more deals and better deals is to buy one from a wholesaler like us and make it a deal and do something with it, which is exactly what you did. Yeah. We're confident now that you're a closer, that if you say, I want a deal, Dan and Mike, that you're going to close. And that's huge for us, right? We want that confidence. And so that's a huge win for you. In addition to just the education you have, you've built a brand for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, thank you guys for having me on the podcast, but also thank you for everything. Really appreciate all the help you guys lent along the way. And, it's been awesome working with you guys. So thanks again.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Likewise. And, we'll do more here in the future. So cool. Well, thanks again, Alex. And if you guys want to learn from Dan and myself about how to be like Alex and be buying deals and hopefully making about 20 grand here, go check us out at the instantinvestorprogram.com. We have a couple different options there now. So we have the group mastermind. We also have a new side to this where you can actually get one-on-one coaching from one of us directly. So we will be working with you personally on a monthly basis to sort of go through your business and help you grow. And that comes along with the group mastermind. So if that interests you, go to instantinvestorprogram.com and check that out. Besides that, guys, please go subscribe to this podcast and share it with anyone that you think might be interested in it. Even if you hated this episode, go subscribe anyway and just don't listen to it. I don't care. It will still make us go up in the rankings if we have more subscribers. So do that for me as a favor. Besides that, you can follow us on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. Go ahead and give us a DM. I got my first hater the other day. I'm super pumped. I feel like that means I finally made it. And I was even happier because I started talking
technically
shit back
I'm
to
your
him.
first hater.
Real nice guy. So all I have to say is if you're going to be a hater. What's that? That's true. You've been a hater way before that guy. So right on, guys. Thanks for listening, and talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.